On today's show, you may remember her as Joey Tribbiani's dad's mistress on Friends, or as Claire the waitress in the Seinfeld Chronicles, or as Rose Nyland's daughter Kirsten on The Golden Girls, or maybe on Roseanne as the massage therapist to a dead guy, or one of her many famous other roles. Please welcome Lee Garlington.
Hi, I'm Lee Garlington, the actress you've seen but never have known my name. But I've been around the block a few times.
Hey, everybody, welcome to the Mike Rand Show. And today's special guest is somebody that has been on so many TV shows, it's impossible to name them all. She was on Friends, The Golden Girls, Roseanne, The Seinfeld Chronicles, and so many other things. Please welcome Lee Garlington. Hey, Lee, how are you doing?
I'm good, Mike. This is take two for me and Mike because we had a technical difficulty last time. So I just know that I won't remember any more names this time than I did last time.
Yes, okay. We're going take two on this interview today, guys. But you know what? I've got a little cheat sheet here in case Lee forgets some names.
Oh,
Maybe I'll
good.
help her out here today. But we can make it better the second time around now, Lee, right? We
Yes.
won't have any
We're
issues
we're
this
in
time.
my art room, so
Yeah.
there's a lot of chaos and color and things around because I'm in the middle of a couple of projects, but it was the best suited room for the interview today.
So I just want to let everybody know some of the films and TV shows that Lee has been on because you definitely know her, guys. She was in the film Psycho 2, Psycho 3, Field of Dreams, Dante's Peak, and I'm just going to list some of the TV shows, okay, that she's been on. Hill Street Blues, Matlock, Sledgehammer, Amen, LA Law, Family Ties, Hooperman, Murphy Brown, Seinfeld, Roseanne, Lenny, Get a Life, Who's the Boss, Quantum Leap, Coach, Blossom, The Golden Girls, Home Improvement, Wings, Friends, Grace Under Fire, Profiler, Townies, Chicago Hope, NYPD Blue, The Net, Buffy, Everwood, The West Wing, Desperate Housewives, Eight Simple Rules, Will and Grace, Grey's Anatomy, NCIS, Two and a Half Men, Young and the Restless, and believe me, people, there's a lot more that I did not say. Lee,
I
what
know
an
you
impressive
make me sound
resume.
like I haven't worked since the 80s. You're going back so far with those credits. Jeez, Louise. I'm recurring on a show called P Valley that's on right now on Stars. So that's a little more recent.
Yes, everybody check out that show. All the she's got so many stuff. All the because you know what, all those two I remember from I'm a very nostalgic 80s and 90s TV watcher too. I remember all those shows from back in the day. So much fun. We're gonna discuss all that stuff today too, guys. But you know what? I want to know first, Lee, how did you get started in acting?
Well, I reached the top of my career in Washington, D.C. in 1980. I was working at NPR as an engineer, and because I had a whole career doing sound and traveling with bands, I was a roadie. And I worked at alternative radio stations, and then I got hired by the mothership NPR. And in 1980, I was assigned to follow Deborah Amos, was one of the wonderful reporters at NPR around the country on the Ronald Reagan campaign. And I knew if I took that gig, I would never follow my dream, which was to be an actor. So I just quit. I quit and I didn't do the campaign. And I moved, a girlfriend and I moved to California. I knew it was either New York or LA, and I had really no credits, no contacts, no experience, no resume. But this is back when you could lie about your resume, so I could make stuff up. This is before the internet. So, and I got here and I spent my first year crying, which is what any sane person does in LA. And then I got very lucky. I went to every audition. There was a publication called Dramalog, And it was like, yeah, I can be a 30-year-old Chinese man. I can be a 70-year-old Black woman. I didn't care what it was. No, I can be a 6-year-old girl. I mean, I just was like insane going to auditions and they'd be like, honey, you're not right for this part. But then I got lucky. I got cast in a play that ran for 5 months. And then while that play was still running, we went into rehearsal for the play by the same playwright, Jane Chambers, that ran for 17 months. And I was on stage for 22 months. And in the second play, my dear friend Jean Smart was the lead. I had a small part. And then every Friday night, while she did her 900 different series that she was shooting during that 17 months, I was her understudy. So I got seen by a lot of casting people. And I have not had to say, would you like fries or Caesar salad with that since 1983, I think, or 1984. I got very lucky, very lucky.
That's awesome. Now, also too, I want to ask you, what was outside of acting, what was your very first job that you had growing up?
My first job, Burger King. I was 16. Well, babysitting is the first job most girls have. I babysat like a maniac back when I was getting, 50 cents an hour. Ooh, now it's like $50 an hour. So and then I worked during the summers. I was always kind of waitressing. That was my fallback. And but then I went to 2 years of trade school and got an associate's degree in electronics, and I was in radio. But mostly I was a political revolutionary in Washington, D.C. That's what I was really doing. But I made my living, doing sound and radio.
Okay, awesome. Now, one of your first roles, now, was this your first role? You got cast as well in the Psycho films, Psycho 2 and Psycho 3. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, that was when I was doing the play. Jackie Birch, who would get my first thank you if I were ever get a big award. She saw me in the play and she stayed after and she said, "You're really good. And I'm casting a movie. I'd love you to come audition." So I had no agent, I had no representation, I had nothing. And Jackie brought me in for the audition. I think she pushed for me to get the part of Myrna, the mean waitress. And then she negotiated my contract. I think I made some was it $2,000 in 4 days. I had 4 days of work. And I was like, it was like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory for me. I was like, what do you do? And what does this do? And what happens here? And what, let me look through the camera. And can I help you with the costume? I mean, I was high for 4 days. It was so much fun that my first movie was working with Anthony Perkins. My first job on film. I've been doing these plays and theater classes. I had an all women's improv group called Skirts, and we had performed a lot around LA, and I'd taken classes at the Groundlings, but this was a job. And it was the most exciting thing I think I've ever done at that time. And I remember when I was so like living hand to mouth, And the first thing I did was I bought a pair of purple boots for $80, which was hugely expensive in 1980, whatever that was. That was half my rent.
I was going to ask you, do you remember what was the first thing that you bought when you got that paycheck?
Purple boots. I still have them. I don't wear them.
Now, since you didn't have an agent at that first job, when did you then get an agent later on? How did that work for
Same
you?
thing. They at last summer at Bluefish Cove, which was the play, they took it. We went up to San Francisco, Equity. Jean didn't go with us. Susan Sullivan. Susan Sullivan played the main role. And again, I was the understudy and I had my smaller role of Ray. And Marshall Mason, a very well-known director from New York at Circle Rep, I think it was. And we went to Circle on the Square in San Francisco for like 4 months. It was right before the Olympics. I remember because I was so excited to be out of town away from LA during the 1984 Olympics. But then the play closed and I came back to LA, and going to those Olympic events was like the best thing. There was no traffic. Everybody was so freaked out about traffic. Traffic ended in LA. And I was so excited. I saw FloJo and Jackie Joyner Kersee. It was very exciting. I'm going to go back in 2028. I'm very excited about, I'm kind of an Olympics freak. Anyway, so Marshall's agent liked me and brought me into his agency. and then he was sort of my point. And then I moved from he moved to a different agency, and that was the same agent I've been with since the beginning of time. I just got sort of plucked up. I never left. Most agents bounce, I mean, most actors bounce around to a million agents. I just stayed. I stick.
That's awesome that you got the same person all these years. And one of your other first roles too was on a TV show called Hooperman with the late great John Ritter. John was
Yeah.
amazing. He was one of my favorite comedians. Can you tell me what it was like working with John?
Was that one of my early ones? Okay. I did like 8, 10, 6, 9. I don't know. I did a bunch of them. I was a recurring character. And he and Michael J. Fox and probably Morgan Freeman are the three nicest men. Nice. Actually, my experience is the higher up you are on the call sheet, i.e., number one, number two, the nicer you are. And John Ritter and Michael J. Fox in television world were just the kindest, nicest men. They were just lovely. And I had a sister, she's passed, but my sister Amy had Down syndrome. And Amy would just, she thought I was like a shopping cart. And she'd go, I want to meet John Ritter. I want to meet Tony Danza. I want to meet, Michael J. Fox. And I would just happen to have worked with these people when she and my mom would come visit. And I'd be like, okay. And I would get us back on the set. And they were always gracious and loving and would pick Amy up and she'd be in seventh heaven and just kind, kind, very kind.
Yeah, that's very beautiful. I bet you loved meeting those celebrities, and I
Oh my
bet you she was
God.
so proud of you too.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry
Let's
to hear
go.
about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And other famous roles that you've been on later, which was kind of interesting, is unfortunately John, passed away too. And he did have another show later on called Eight Simple Rules that you got to guest star. Unfortunately, it wasn't when John was there. Can
Mm-mm.
you tell us a little bit about guest starring on Eight Simple Rules?
If I remembered. I know Katie outside of show business, so it was nice seeing Katie, but I didn't have any scenes with her. It was with James Garner, who was lovely, just a lovely man to work with. I don't even remember what my character was. And David Spade was there, and I don't really remember any specifics. I will tell you though that the thing that I feel the most grateful for and the most proud of are I auditioned for a film that a man named Phil Alden Robinson was directing. And it was when we did it, I think it was called The Woo Woo Kid, although I think it ended up being called In the Mood. And I met Phil and we really connected as human beings. I just adored him. And I had one word in this film, which was he and I can't remember. There's Talia Balsam and I forget the other actress. Oops, bad girl. But they were in a real cheapo diner, and Patrick Dempsey's character looks up at me and goes, "What's your finest champagne?" And I look at him, I go, "Schlitz." And that was my one word. And Phil decided, to my eternal gratitude, that I was his good luck charm. And he put me in all his films that had white people. And so I went from In the Mood to Field of Dreams to Sneakers to The Sum of All Fears to The Angriest Man in Brooklyn. And because of Phil, I got to work with getting to work with Robin Williams and Morgan Freeman and Ben Affleck and Robert Redford and Ben Kingsley and Sidney Poitier. As it was just like, oh my God, I was like a kid in a candy store, and I am eternally great. And each time my role got just a little bit bigger, which was nice. I had a really nice role in Some of All Fears, and to stand on a stage, you're doing a scene with Ben Affleck and Morgan Freeman. It really doesn't get much better than that. Same thing on. I did a recurring character the last year on The West Wing, and I was Richard Schiff's who played Toby. I was Toby's lawyer. And I remember once walking in, and the scene was me, Richard Schiff, Oliver Platt, and Allison Janney. And just to stand there and go, wow, this is as good as it gets. This is just, those are the moments where you go, I am blessed.
Yeah, awesome. And then another sitcom that you were on as well, you were in the original Seinfeld pilot, which was called The Seinfeld Chronicles. Now, this has a little interesting background, the way Seinfeld came to air, because it was originally, it was called The Seinfeld Chronicles, and they aired the pilot in the summer because back then, sometimes shows that they didn't pick up, if they might test it in the summer. Because they didn't have year-round programming like we have now. Now we have streaming services. We've got everything going on in original programming, but they didn't do that back in the day. But they did take a chance and aired the pilot, which they had passed on, but they aired it and they got good ratings and they decided to brought the series back. They didn't bring you back, unfortunately, though, but you were in that first episode. You played Claire
Hmm.
the waitress. Can you tell
Hmm.
us a little bit about that?
Well, it was fun. It was 2 weeks because the pilots you shoot longer. It was just me and Jerry and Michael and Jason, and we had lunch every day and we hung out, and it was just it was fun. It was a fun experience.
And another great show that you were on was Roseanne, that you got to do two times, actually. So, one time you were in a scene where there was, I think it was a traveling salesman that dropped dead in Roseanne's house, that they covered him with a blanket, and you were a massage therapist that just happened to, well, I think maybe I think they were, if I remember correctly, you were looking at buying the what do you call it, washer and dryer with your husband, and they're like, oh, he's just, he just needs a massage or something. Like, I happen to be a massage therapist. I can work wonders for him, which was funny. And then you were also in a Christmas episode, correct? I believe you
I
were in,
all I know is I worked at the bookstore and I was
oh, the
Darlene's.
bookstore, yes.
Yeah. And that one, I think I might have done even, I don't know if I think I did another one, but I'm not sure I don't remember. I think maybe I did two as that character, but I'm not sure. Yeah.
So what was it like working on Roseanne? Did you have fun with everybody on that set?
Well, I knew John Goodman outside of Roseanne. John and I were we were he was a groomsman and I was a bridesmaid when Demi Moore and Bruce Willis got married. So we had sort of spent this fun 3 days together, this crazy weekend of activities for that wedding, which was very, very cool and fun back in the day. And Laurie Metcalf is one of my favorite actresses on the planet. I just think she's remarkable. I've worked with her a couple of times and she's remarkably talented.
Yes, Lori's been on so many great things too. And
Yeah.
then And then you got a lead in a sitcom called Lenny. Now, was this your first actual lead, like for, a regular on a series at that point?
Well, I think there was one point where I did 9 pilots in 10 years and I was the lead in all of them, but they don't all get picked up. And like Lenny went for 16, it was 16 episodes, I think, and Townies, I think we did 16 episodes, and um I forget what else. I Blame It on Ernie was 3. So you do a lot of pilots. I had one where I was the lead, and it didn't get picked up, but no, it wasn't the first one. But it was in that era when every stand-up comedian was being given a series, and they weren't necessarily actors, and then they would hire an actor to play the wife. So I was
Yeah,
one of
because
the
there was a
many
big period where
wives,
there was a lot of stand-up comedians getting sitcoms, is
a
what they were
lot.
doing there, like in the late 90s, I think it was that era.
Yeah, not even sure. No, it was
Or
late.
late 80s, late 80s. I'm sorry, late 80s. Yeah, it was late 80s, I meant to say, yeah. And
Yeah.
then another great famous role that you got to play, and you got to work with such talented people, was on The Golden Girls. You played
Mm.
Rose Nyland's daughter, Kirsten. Very famous episode where, Rose was sick in the hospital. You went to the hospital, and, the girls were waiting for her. I believe, Rose was in a coma, and you all were waiting for her. And Kirsten was very nervous. She's there to see her mother. And it seemed, the regular hilarious stuff because I remember couple funny scenes. You were walking in the hospital, and both times you walked in, the girls, Dorothy, Blanche, and Sophia, just happened to be just laughing and having a good time, and you're like, my mom's in the hospital, and you guys are sitting here singing about what Rheingold beer. Dorothy's singing about the big bad wolf. I mean, so funny. I want to know what it was like meeting those girls, Betty White, B. Arthur, Rue McClanahan, and Estelle Getty, and how did you keep a straight face, which you have to, and not laugh at them when you're doing scenes with them?
Well, I'm not one of those actresses who cracks up. I'm pretty good at that. So I mean, there have been a couple times I've gotten in trouble because somebody was so freaking funny. But well, we were on a very, it was a, these were, I was doing Lenny at the time, which was a Whit Thomas Harris show. So was Golden Girls, so was Empty Nest, and so was Blossom. And our four shows were together on a little tiny lot. It was just us, the four of us. So I saw them kind of regularly. We were all passing each other outside in the parking lot, or, Park Overall was always skating, and we were just around, and I had done Blossom. I don't think I did an Empty Nest, but sort of what Thomas Harris would say, here, you're off this week, you go do this one. And so they said, here, you're going to be Rose's daughter. And I was like, okay, it's like the 1900, this is the 27th year of this show. She doesn't have a daughter yet. But apparently somebody else, I guess, had played the daughter in an earlier season. So it was like, instead of going to this, studio, I went over here. We were all in the same lot. So my, my memory, I don't know why this is the memory, is that we're sitting in the living room on the couch, me, Rue, B, uh, I think it was all of us, and B. Arthur kept, she just kept, it kept, we're all just sitting there, and she's looking at my legs, and finally I said, "What are you looking at?" She goes, "I'm trying to figure out whether or not you have stockings on." And I was like, "Yeah, I do." And she's like, "Oh, okay." It was just one of those like random moments. But Betty White, oh my God. Again, talk about kind, wonderful. There was a children's hospital in Los Alamitos that every year at Christmas time, she would get, 1,000 of her closest famous actor friends to go with her down there to this hospital. And I went that year, and she was just a force of nature, remarkably, again, kind, loving, funny as all get out. Just I saw her. I once went to something she was being honored at, and it had been years since I'd worked with her. And I sort of went near the front of the stage during a break. I just wanted to say hi, and she pulled me up on the stage, and sat and talked. And I said, "Well, they're going to come back. I got to go back." I went back to my seat. But she was like that kind of incredibly inclusive, loving, generous person, a delight. And Estelle was good friends with my friend Brian Kerwin. They were like besties, and Estelle was funny as all get out too. Playing a woman. She was the same age as all the other ladies, and she's
Yeah.
playing like the mother, but she was just a pistol also. Very funny.
Yeah, very talented cast. I mean, what a great honor it was that you got to be a part of that show. I mean, that
No
that's huge.
kidding. That was
Yep.
special. Yeah.
Yeah. And then another great show you worked on too, which was another one of my favorite shows, was Wings. Can you tell us about what it was like working on
Oh
Wings?
my God, that was fun. I don't remember what my character was, and I'm forgetting everybody's name, but the tell
Tim
me
Daly.
Tim
Tim
Daly and
Daly. Yep.
Steven Weber. So
Yep.
I just remember just it was so much fun. It was a fun week. Everybody was just incredibly, talented. And I just my favorite moment was at the very end. Steven and Tim got on either side of me and kind of made a sandwich and said, "Can we keep her? Can we keep her? Does she have to go? Can she stay?" And it was just like, "No, I want to stay. I'll pay you. Let me stay." But it was just one of those lovely, everybody's funny, incredibly talented. I don't think there's a person from that show who didn't go on to bigger and better. It was a very, very cool environment.
Yeah, that was a talented cast. It had Crystal Bernard, who was on It's a
Yes,
Living, Tony Shalhoub, who went on to play Monk, you
yes.
know, and oh God, Thomas Hayden
Church.
Churchill,
Yeah.
I think is
Tony,
his
that's right.
name.
I forgot Tony was on that. Tony's daughter and my daughter went to the same elementary school together. So I got to know Tony and Brooke really well. I completely forgot Tony was on that
Yeah.
show.
And actually, Amy Yazbek, I don't know if she was in your episode. Maybe not. She joined the show later on too.
Oh,
John
did you?
Ritter's wife was later on the show too. Yeah, you were
Okay.
you were like the director of the models because there were models there.
Is
You
that
were some
right?
sort yeah, you were something like I don't know what it's called, like the, director of the models. There were models doing something in the airport.
I know nothing. Thank God you have it all down. I remember nothing.
I mean, and see, that's when you know you really made it, Lee. When you can't remember all the things you've been on, that's when you know you really made it.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's interesting because success is I'm watching, again, Jean Smart is one of my dearest friends, and I'm
Yeah.
watching there's a Renaissance, she's
Yeah.
going through this, remarkable thing. And it's like, I've done over 300 jobs, film and television, and not counting probably another 40 plays. And I have loved the work, but if the barometer of success is fame, I don't have that. But if the barometer of success is I love my life, I definitely have that. And, having the sort of I'm not a famous person, but I'm known within the industry. If I go on a set, people are going to come and say, "Oh, I nice to meet you, glad you're here," that kind of a thing. And show business is very collegial. It's not a who you know, it's who you know that likes you, and having the opportunity to make a living is, I look at young people now and I'm like, wow, there are more platforms than there ever have been. When I was coming up, the only way you really got started was through theater or improv. And now you have, all this ability to be an influencer, create content, or YouTube or whatever. And I just feel like I can look back on it and as a sort of ambitious, driven person, more and more, I want more. But now I go, oh my God, wow, you worked a lot, and you don't necessarily appreciate it in the moment because you're not famous. But now it's like I am so grateful, when I just walk into a restaurant anywhere and eat. I go out to eat with Jean. We have to sit a certain place and she wants to have her back here. And I'm like, oh man, no, no, I'm good. I'm good. And I've been around a lot of people much further up the food chain than me, and I know what that life is. And there's a lot of perks and privileges and opportunities and choices and money and all that stuff and recognition and acknowledgement. And you go, that's great. And I'm good. Hollywood, show business. I always say if you made a decision, you're on a spiritual path this lifetime. There's no greater teacher of humility than show business. And it's also the opportunity to define and redefine what success is. And the old adage, happiness is wanting what you have, not having what you want. And it'd be great to have both, don't get me wrong, but it's like there's nobody on the planet I would trade my life with. I mean, I'm so grateful for my home and my husband and my family and my work and my friends and all the components that make up my life. And it's like I've been very blessed in show business, and I get that now in a way that I I couldn't get when I was younger. It's that old thing like, life to be understood must be looked at backwards, but you have to live it forward kind of thing. So it's like I can now go, oh, okay, I get that. I get what that was. And in the moment, you don't necessarily get it. I'm philosophizing. Are you enjoying it?
Yes. It's good that you're able to look back and you realize it now, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
another great one that you were on was a show that so many people adore, and that's Friends. You got to play Joey Tribbiani's dad's mistress. That was another famous role. So tell us what it was like being on the set of Friends.
Well, I know it was early on. I don't because what did they go for 10 years? So I think it was either the first or the second year. I don't know if they were like famous yet or if it was still in the nascent stages of that. I think they were. I think it might have been the big end of the first year, beginning of the second. They were a hit. And I remember going, there was a little restaurant called Lulu's. And I didn't really have anything with Jen. Um, but why am I blanking on her last name? Jennifer.
Jennifer Aniston.
Thank you. Jeez,
Yeah.
Louise, Jennifer Aniston. So I was at this restaurant with my husband and couple of friends. Like there were four or five of us, and I said, "That's Jennifer Aniston over there." And my husband said, "No, oh yeah, you're right, it is." And she was looking around at one point, and I just went like this, and she went, and she came over and she put her hand on my shoulder, and she introduced herself to everybody in my little table, and just stood there for like 3 minutes. It was like, wow, that's nice. And they were that was a very it was Marta Kaufman. It was the I was there. I happened to be there during the I think it was we shot it at Christmas time. There was a lot of presents being given. It was like, damn, it's nice to have this kind of money. Look at these presents that the cast and crew are getting. And it was a very warm set. Not every set you go on is inviting most of the time, but this was a very, we're all in this together kind of thing. So that was fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then you were also on another show called Townies, which had a lot of famous people, which you mentioned a little
Yes.
earlier on. It had Molly Ringwald, Lauren Graham, Jenna Elfman. How was it like working on Townies?
Bill Burr, Ron Livingston, every single one of those. Yeah. It was great. That was my first show where I wasn't the lead, and I was playing Molly Ringwald's mom. And it was sort of like, oh, now and I was not old enough. I mean, I'm only like 15 years older than Molly or something like that. I was like, "Oh, I'm not quite old enough really to be her mom, but that's okay." It was again a very just again, these were all young people who had not yet made their marks, but every single one of them went on to, much acclaim and work and well deserved. I mean, it was a great little show. I'm not quite sure why that. I think we did like 16 of those also, and they canceled us, but I don't remember why. But it was very Andy, was that Andy's show? No, Andy was Lenny. Andy Cadiff was our director on Lenny. I don't remember who the director was on Townies, but it was fun. It was fun. Worked on my bad Boston accent. Had had
Yeah, you
had
got
a
to learn
pretty,
all these accents too. Yep.
I'm not very I am no Meryl Streep when it comes to accent. That is not my forte.
Another cult hit show you were worked on was also Buffy the Vampire Slayer. What did you do on Buffy? Do you remember Buffy?
I do. I remember Chaos because it was the show was a huge hit, and I didn't do back then what I tell everybody, every young person that I've coached or I talk to, or I do the orientation for new members to SAG-AFTRA. And see, I have my union shirt on. But I don't think I'd ever seen an episode. I didn't, I had a vague knowledge that it was something to do with vampires. And I was playing the mother of one of the principal guys, and it was a huge wedding scene. And I was that embarrassing actor going, I'm sorry, which one is he? Who's he marrying? Do I like this person? How long have they been together? I mean, I just felt so stupid. I think that was actually the show that made me go, you are never doing that again. You will do your dang research before you go do a show. Because I was just like, "Ah." And it was so many background artists, and it was just I remember it was just chaos because there were like I- am going to say hundreds, but it was let's just say scores of people on the set, which usually there aren't. There's just the core group and maybe one or two guest stars. So this was a big episode, and I just was sort of like, just point me in the direction you want me to go. I don't think I had much to do. I don't think I never. I've probably only seen about half of what I've done. So I never saw that one, so I don't know how it turned out.
Yeah, there's many people I hear too that don't watch their work. Are you one of those people that don't want to watch your work because
No,
or,
I
or
just
or do you like to watch some of it?
some of it. I mean, I think I've seen pretty much every movie I've done. Um, like I just did I did The Little Things with Denzel Washington. I had a whole day or a half a day with Denzel, and I really wanted to see that because it was so fascinating. At this stage in my life, I'm what you would call a journeyman actor. I've been around the block a few times. And it was very interesting watching Denzel, who directs and is really a famous actor and number one on the call sheet. And just watching, I like watching actors where you can really see what they do with their craft. And it's there's certain actors when you work with them, they're going to elevate you, you're going to elevate them, whatever. There's going to be a chemical reaction that takes place. And I had a really nice, we were not, our characters were not friendly. He was annoying me, and I was the landlady, and there'd been a murder, and I just wanted him out of there. But he and I had a really nice uh, rapport. And I said, okay, how does that look on the screen? And I loved watching him make the choices he made, and I loved him how he worked with the director, and in between shots, the director and Denzel, John Lee Hooker, is that what was his name? I think we would just sit and talk about husbands and wives and kids and school and empty nests and business and politics, and then we go do the scene again. So it was just one of those delightful days. So I will watch something that I'm curious as to how it worked. And then also one of my experiences, I'm kind of what you would call a director's actor. I know what my job is. I'm a hired gun. I'm not the star. I'm not number one, or I'm number 27 or 137 on the call sheet. So when I come in, I know my job is to serve the plot. I'm not there to, have a breakout moment with my character. I'm there to give information. And I know what the style is when I'm hired on a sitcom, four camera sitcom, one camera, an hour drama, a movie of the week, an action film. I mean, I know my job, and you can count on me to show up and do it professionally. And all this was leading to something, all those words, and now I've forgotten the damn thought. God, I hate this part of life. What was it getting to? Something. Oh, so there are times, director's actor, I remembered. Like if I am asked to do something and it just doesn't feel right, like I don't think that would be what this person would do in this moment. I'm going to give the director whatever he or she wants. But then because I've been a good girl, I'm going to say, can I please have one more take and give you something a little different? And I would say 4 out of 5 times when I do that, the director goes, "Oh, okay, do that again, but this time do da da da," because they see what I'm saying. But rather than challenging and saying no, and I once interviewed Jason Bateman I used to do these interviews for the Los Angeles SAG-AFTRA Foundation, and I did a one-on-one with him for like 2 hours. And he said, "No, I will never do something that I don't think is right for the character." And I go, "Yeah, because you're number one on the call sheet. You can do that. I can't." And he goes, "Yes, you can." We got into this back and forth. And I said, "No, Jason, I can't. That's not, and so he would never do that. I will give them what they want. And then I will always watch that show to see which take they took because I'm curious. Did I prevail or did I not? So those are the ones I'm always going to watch to see what happened there. But I don't believe, I think if I'm number one or two on the call sheet, yeah, I can say no, 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 we're not doing it that way. We just shot something at my house last weekend, and that I was just hired as an actor, and I love them. I have this beautiful old house built in 1910, and the writer producer started crying and begging me, and I told him, okay, fine, you can shoot it at my house. But there were a couple times where I went, no. I'm not doing that. That's not what she would do. And because I'm number one on the call sheet on that one. So I did do that. But most of the time it's like, no, that's not my job. My job is to do what I'm told to do, because that's why they hired me. And I will give you one other, oh my God, Jason, father and son directors, the Ivan Reitman, not the son, Jason. I auditioned for Ivan Reitman for a film called Evolution, I think. And I was playing a reporter who's the world's like ending behind me. There's like it's a green screen kind of thing, and chaos is happening, and I'm reporting the news. And I said to Ivan Reitman, I said, I can think of like 3 different ways to do this. And he went, do it. And I was like, really? And he's like, yes. And I'm like, okay. Thank God I wasn't just saying that. I had actually thought of three different ways to do it. So I did one where she was like, really scared and about to die. And I did one where she'd clearly taken drugs and was just like, okay, I'm gonna go die now off screen somewhere. And I did one some other way. And then I got the job and I'm there we're shooting in Pasadena in front of the city hall. And I start to do the first way, and he comes running up to me and goes, no, no, not like that. And I went, oh, okay. I went to number two, and he went, no. And I was about to do number three. He goes, just do it plain. I was like, oh. So he wanted no character. I'd come up with this little character for this little character, and ultimately he wasn't interested in any of them, but it got me the job. So it's like, but still, the job is to get the job. That's the way it works in Hollywood. But my job with Ivan Reitman was to do what he wanted me to do for that character who was not any pivotal character in the movie, just a little blip kind of thing. Was that a good story?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, we know you have an extensive background, obviously, on sitcoms, on dramas, and film, and theater, but there's one genre which is very interesting when I was looking at your resume that you did. You did have a part on The Young and the Restless, which is a soap opera. So
I
I
did.
want to know what it was like working on a soap opera and how is it different than the other sets that you've been on?
Well, it's funny. I didn't audition for it. It was one of those, my agent Pearl Wexler at the Coner agency called and said, Lee, we have this offer for you. And this wasn't that long ago. I'm bad with time. 5 years, 10 years? I don't know. It was not in the beginning of my career. And I went, oh, okay. I've never done a soap. Let's see what that's like. And I'm pretty much just a theatrical actor. I've never done a commercial. I've never done interactive or voiceover. I am just a straight what the soap people call nighttime actress. And so I went there and it was like, oh my God, the energy like in the makeup room is like, these are my people. We're all swearing like sailors and they're just these, they work, in a big action movie, you look at the call sheet and it's like 2.5 pages. What the hell are we going to do for 12 hours on 2.5 pages? And you go, oh, lighting, really good lighting. And then you do like a movie of the week and you're shooting 8, 10, 12 pages a day. And then you do a sitcom and you're rehearsing in the week and then you're shooting it on a four camera, you're shooting it on Friday night. And there's all these different styles and number of pages. I think I may be making that, but I think they shoot 60, 70 pages a day on a soap opera. So it's like you basically, the way I describe the kind of acting it is on a soap opera, is there's this really slow moving train that never stops. And you jog alongside the train until it's time for your scene. You hop on, you do your scene, and then you hop off and you keep jogging until it's time for the next scene. And then you hop on. And it was this thing where like I hadn't seen hair and makeup for hours and we rehearse it. You rehearse it one time and they go, okay, and 5, 4. And I'm like, wait, what about hair and makeup? And this is where all my friends, all these people I bonded with, suddenly they look at me and go, oh, nighttime actress. Yeah, get hair and makeup for her. There's no hair and makeup on the set. You see them in the morning, you see them after lunch. That's it, you're done. You do it one time. You shoot the scene once, maybe twice, but really once. And I was playing some sort of like a social worker type character, and I every line was like, and at what time did you have that meeting? And when you met with her, did you notice the time? How much time did you spend after you had? I mean, it was like every sentence sounded exactly the same. I was like, oh my God. It was like my hat, I bow down to all the soap actors because they work their butts off, and this is why the people who are there who've been on soaps for 30, 40, 50 years, they're there because they have developed their memories to the point of they are godheads that they can just go up there and do 20, 30 pages in a day. It's a remarkable art form. I will tell you that. Very impressed by it.
Yep. And now that brings us to P Valley, one of your current shows. Tell us what it's like working on there and what you do on that show.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think I'm done now because the actress who I was had all my interaction with left the show. But it was there's the Katori Hall, who has won a Pulitzer Prize for one of her plays, wrote this, I think, as a play, and she adapted it. Don't quote me on that, maybe. And I was hired. It was sort of I may be making all this up, but I think it was sort of a throwaway show for Stars, and then it became this monster hit, like the most watched show on Stars. And I play this rich bitch, nasty white woman. It's all about it's a strip club, it's politics, it's water, it's having to do with land development and stuff. And there's all these different storylines woven together. And I was Georgia, and my friend Melanie Mayron, who's a wonderful actress who's now mostly a director. And Melanie fought for me. She said they kept trying to get somebody much further up the food chain than me to play the role. And Melanie kept saying, "No, I want to see Lee. Where's Lee? Have Lee auditioned yet?" And I got very blessed because I was hired for one episode, and then I think I did three or four of them. And it was just going to Atlanta, going to a costume fitting, working the next day, and then flying home kind of thing. And it was all during COVID. And Katori Hall was like, hugely pregnant through most of it, the first year anyway. And it was just uh, a remarkably talented group of people. Just like, wow, what a story they're telling. Very impressive.
Favorite role out of all the roles that you've done over the years? And if there's some role that you could pick that you played that you want to tell somebody that you feel maybe you didn't get a lot of people seeing that you in that role. What role would you tell people, I want you to see me in this role? This is a great role that I wish, had more recognition or was more famous that people, saw me in that role.
Well, I mean, I feel like in some ways my character in Field of Dreams, because it was such an iconic role, and I mean, not iconic role, iconic movie. Sorry, being pretentious there. And that was that was Phil Alden Robinson. It was just a very special experience. Um, I don't know. I mean, working with Robert Redford was just so fun. And that was another film movie, Some of All Fears, and I loved that character. There was a show called Maximum Bob with Beau Bridges. I worked with both the Bridges brothers, and they are amazing actors. And the show didn't, I think they shot two or three, it didn't get picked up, but I was playing Beau Bridges' ex-wife in this series, and would have been a recurring character. And we had a scene where Beau and I were basically breaking all the china as we were throwing it at each other, then tackling each other and rolling around on the floor. And that was just, it was, and I got to scream, I got to cry, I got to laugh, I got to, hug Beau Bridges. It was just one of those magical, like, oh my God, I would die and go to heaven to play this character forever. Um, and I produced something a little short called Before We Go, that I loved the character there. We wanted to make it into a longer movie, but my friend Renee uh, Ashton wrote it. It was a marvelous piece. I'm trying to think what else, if there's any other. On Everwood, that was fun because I got to play this character. Did the pilot in Calgary. We shot the series in Utah. I think I did 10, 12 of them. I don't remember, but every time it was like I started out as a realtor. Now I own the restaurant. Now I'm teaching ballet. Now I'm the singer at the club. Now I am this, just every time, whatever they needed, I was brought in to play that, that was fun. I had the most versatile character in town kind of thing. Um, so I don't know. There's been so many, fun ones. I love my character in The Sum of All Fears. playing an iconic character, also from an iconic film. And I don't know, just I there's so many.
So
I
many
mean,
to
on
choose from.
yeah, I mean, a lot of them are on stage playing Linda Lohman in Death of a Salesman. That was a very special experience. Playing the mother in Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. Both these plays I did at the Ruskin Theater. I've playing Lil in Last Summer at Bluefish Cove. I've had a lot of remarkable experiences on stage also, which is kind of my favorite medium.
What advice would you give to actors, to new upcoming actors?
I would say live your life. Don't stop your life because you're an actor. Go on vacation, have hobbies, fall in love, become a mother, work in the garden, bake bread, play games, because it's like when I go to audition, um, I bring all of me to the banquet. And if I am just sitting in my room reading scripts, I'm not going to be as interesting as somebody who's living a full life, and I would say ride the horse in the direction it's going for as long as you can. And there is no dishonor in saying it's not working the way I wanted it to. I have a girlfriend who left show business, has a whole other career, lives in a small town in Virginia, and does theater and is happier than a pig in poo. There's all sorts of ways to be involved. I would never, even if I never did another film or television role, for as long as I live, I hope I get to do theater, because I get to play all sorts of roles on stage that I'm never going to be cast for in a film or television because they're going to go to somebody further up the food chain. But I get to do it on a small equity waiver theater here in LA. And I would say, do your craft as often as you can. See movies, go to plays, do play readings. I started a writers group, it's called WALL, the Writers and Actors Lab, in 1987. I'm the only person who's in it from the beginning, but we have a group of like 40 people who get together, every week, and we put up scenes from things that the writers are working on, and the actors do get to play the 70-year-old Chinese man and the 6-year-old black girl and the 45-year-old white woman. I mean, we get to play all sorts of roles we're not going to ever be cast at, so it's a great opportunity for the actors to stretch. Every Tuesday night they do that. So I would say, an actor is not determined by how much money you make or don't make. It's about, are you doing your craft? Are you enjoying it? Are you working on getting better? Are you taking classes? Are you going to improv groups? That kind of a thing.
What inspires
Don't
you
go
as an actress?
non-union, huh?
Yes. What inspires you as an actress and in
Uh,
life in general?
I think for me, like I'm just gonna stick the magic movies, The Adjustment Bureau, Shawshank Redemption, What's Eating Gilbert Grape, Searching for Bobby Fischer, um, um, uh, Finding Forrester. I see a magic movie and I go, oh my God, that was such a gem. Crazy Stupid Love, People Like Us. I'm thinking of all my little quirky films that I just go, oh my God, they found the magic, the zeitgeist. They got the energy that made it go. And that inspires me. Like, oh my God, I'm so grateful to be a part of this craft, where people, the right elements come together in the right way, and you just create something that's just a little magical offering to the world. So that always inspires me. Seeing somebody do a role, even if it was one that I wanted and didn't get or whatever, or just go, that was, seeing a scene, watching a television show and going, that was a beautiful scene. That's a gem right there. And knowing, my brother says, he goes, going to a movie with you is so different than going by myself because you see all sorts of things that I don't see because I've been doing this for, a few decades. So I know if I see a movie I love, I will watch it multiple times because I want to. First time is just, tabula rasa, entertain me. I don't like to know anything about a book or a movie before I go see it. And then the second or third times I go back to watch how they did how, I'm looking at the editing, and in this one, this vision, oh, I'm looking at the direction there, and like, oh, okay, so they did this, and how did they cut it, and oh, I bet there was another scene there because this doesn't, quite make sense. What, da, da, da. And I can look at something and kind of figure out, what's missing, what was added, which that was not scripted. I can tell that was improv. Oh, she went up on her lines, but she did this instead, and they kept that take. And so I know enough now to be inspired by the amazing nature of our craft and the people who do it. When I'm on a set, I am always curious about what everyone's job is because it takes a village.
Yep. And you're always learning when you learn other parts and learn, see what everybody else, what their input is on everything too, and how they, run the show there.
Yep. Yep.
And now, you know what time it is, Lee?
It's time
It's
for you to ask me either ors.
Yes, it's the lightning round. So I'm gonna name you a couple things. Tell me which one you like better. The first one is involving your favorite, the Olympics. Do you like the winter or the summer Olympics better?
Close, but summer.
Okay, comedies or dramas?
Dramedies.
Cats or dogs?
Ooh, I've had quite a bit of both. At this point in my life, just because I don't want to get up in the middle of the night and walk the dog, cats.
The Price is Right or The Family Feud?
I don't know either of those. I think I've seen a few minutes of each of them. I would probably go with the Family Feud.
Okay. Which superpower would you rather have? Would you rather be
No,
able
no,
to
no.
become
I'm going to tell you
invisible?
no, no, no. My superpower is to be able to read, understand, and speak every language.
Oh, that's an awesome power to
That
have.
would be my superpower.
That's great. Would you rather cheat on a test or fail honestly?
Depends. What's at stake? What happens if I pass the test? That would really depend.
Decaf, would you rather have decaf or regular?
I have never had a cup of coffee in my life, but I am a soda drinker, so soda and tea, so definitely calf.
Which is more iconic, the Photomat or Blockbuster?
I I would think it would be Blockbuster.
Yep, Photomat used to be those little photo booths where you develop film back in the day. Pizza or pasta?
Pasta.
Do you normally stay awake late or go to bed early?
Stay awake late.
Which do you prefer, the East Coast lifestyle or the West Coast lifestyle?
I am a Californian before I'm anything else.
And finally, are you tech savvy or would you just rather write things down?
A little bit of both. I have an old school calendar. My husband puts everything in his phone. Um, I'm tech savvy enough to get by, but I would much prefer to type than write by longhand, only because you can't read my writing.
Yes.
I can barely read my writing.
Do you have like the doctor's writing when the doctors write the prescriptions?
Kind of, yeah, different, but kind of. My husband will do some, like I'll write out the grocery list and he'll go, "You want me to get sex dubba coup?" And then there's four wubba y. And I'm like, my daughter and my husband both do that. They
Thank
mock.
you so much for joining us here today, Lee.
Thank you for having me, Mike. This was really fun.
You're welcome. What would you like to say to all the fans who are watching you right now? And how can they find out what you're up to?
The fans like that exists. What would I like to say? I'd just like to say, um, I guess just one day at a time, enjoy the journey, suit up and show up, learn to celebrate, rinse and repeat, because that's so much of what life is, and acknowledge your successes to yourself, and don't ever let perfection be the enemy of the good.
Okay, awesome. And you have a website, correct, too? You
I
want to
do.
plug the website? What's your website?
LeeGarlingtonTheActress.com.
Okay, so everybody check that out. Thank you again. It was so much fun having you here today. And thank you guys for watching. We will talk to you all soon. Bye, everybody.
Namaste, namago.